Hi everyone. Today I wanted to give you some insight into what it's like to experience being arrested and then ending up in prison. So I was going to talk about today what it's like from the moment you get arrested to the moment you find yourself locked away in that prison cell. So the way that you find yourself getting arrested will be wholly dependent on the crime you've committed. For most people, it's early morning knock on the door. Or, if you're really unlucky, the heavy boot to the door coming off its hinges, and you hear all the men running up the stairs towards your bedroom. So I've been arrested many times early in the morning in these dawn raids. Most of the time they've left the door on its hinges. A couple of times I have had to replace my door. It's not a dignified way to go out. Obviously, once you start getting arrested and having multiple police searches, you start to know to only have stuff in your house that you're going to be acceptable for the police to find, because anything embarrassing or anything criminal-minded, is going to get found, and you're going to be in trouble for that as well. So yeah, the first experience you have is normally that shame. Of them finding your porn collection hidden away in the bottom drawer of the big curvy fat chicks, or the amputees weekly, or whatever it is you're into. Who knows? But they'll be the police will be going through your every intimate detail of your life with that first police search. I've also been arrested from work, which is interesting. I've been arrested from work twice now. No, 3 times, sorry, because it's always a way that they can, if they don't know where you live, but they know what you do, then they can find you at your workplace. So yeah, I've been arrested from work 3 times now as well. So that's embarrassing. Twice, 2 of those occasions, ended up going to prison from my place of work. And obviously, the other occasion, I managed to talk my way out of, and the employer was quite sympathetic, and they kept me on. But obviously, yeah, you've then got the embarrassment of everybody knowing that you've gone to prison. So if you get arrested outside of your home, away from one of those dawn raids, then the last taste you're going to have of freedom is if once they put those cuffs on you, they then press against your head, push you into that police car. That is going to be your last taste of fresh air, of freedom, until you see your release day. All right, so savor those last few moments. Because as you sit in that back of the police car with the child locks on, so you can't get out the back of the door, if you've been particularly naughty, they may have you in the back of a van, or in they may have an officer sat next to you. You're really going to start really losing your liberty from that moment onwards. They then put you in the van or the car and take you down to the police station, where you're going to get processed and put into one of the cells in custody. If you were arrested in a home raid, you'll normally sit yourself down on the sofa in handcuffs, while then the police conduct a search of your property and you. And like I say, it's a detailed search where if you have anything embarrassing in your house, they're going to find it. Also, if you've got anything criminal or illegal in your house, they're going to find that as well. All right, so that's the first embarrassing and sometimes difficult step. Once they've completed their search, they'll then dress you, and you get to go off again in the back of the car or the back of the van, off to the police custody suite. Now once you get to the custody suite, like I say, you get into a small waiting area where you'll wait to go and see the desk sergeant. Okay, the desk sergeant, like you see on all the TV programs, sits up higher. The desk is intentionally, above chest height, so that it's more difficult for you to hop over the counter and beat the crap out of them. Basically, they are no different to a receptionist at a hotel. They take your details, they confirm your address, they confirm if you want a solicitor or not, and which solicitor you want them to go and get. They've got the rule book there, so you can all of your rights while you're in custody. You can take that if you want to read it, and they ask if you want anybody informed of you being in custody. So there's no point of protesting your innocence. There's no point in taking it out on them. There's no point in kind of kicking off or being a knobhead. It will just end up you being twisted up on the floor and they're dragged out there. It's a formal exercise. You can say nothing if you want to. They generally already know who you are and all your address and information. You can start your exercise by saying nothing then if you want to. But again, it's just a booking exercise. You may not, just because he's wearing a police uniform, he's just a receptionist. Then they're going to take you down to the cells. They'll march you off. They'll take you down to the cells. They would have taken any clothing off you that's got any string. So if you've got a hoodie, they'll take the hoodie off you, or they'll take the string out of the hoodie. They take the laces out of your shoes, so you can't hang yourself or anything. But the weird thing is they'll make you take your shoes off before you get to the cell. So you'll kick your shoes off outside the cell, then you go in barefoot. Now, a police cell, you may have seen it. It's a very bleak, bland, grey affair. It's normally a plain box, square room with a shelf-like bed on the back of it. It's normally created in. There's no actual bed. It's just a shelf, normally with one of those blue plastic piss-resistant fucking mattresses, about an inch thick and completely worn through. Occasionally, if you're going to stay the night, a blanket in the evening, but normally you just sat there on the mattress until the evening. If you've been caught in the dawn raid, or one of the early morning raids as you were at work, you're going to be sitting in that cell now for a while, because what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to psychologically break you to the point where you are unable to kind of resist any further, and they'll just want you to just tell everything you know. So, say for example, if you're in the cells for 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning, there's a good chance that you're going to then be stuck there till maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon before they even come and process you and take you for an interview. They know the longer they leave you, there's a better chance of you breaking and just saying anything you can to get out of that cell. The best thing I can recommend you do with this time, this 5 or 6 hours, 7 or 8 hours that it could be that you're sat in this cell, is just compile your thoughts, get yourself together, plan your, what do they know, what could they have possibly found, if they have found things in your flat or your house, what does that lead to, who they could have possibly heard from, what do they, what's the worst case scenario and what's the best case scenario, and what's all in between. And then you just basically make sure you work your defence for every angle. So if they have got everything on you, then you basically just get a statement together that explains some of it away and then leave some of it in grey area. If you don't think they've got anything on you at all, then you get ready to talk to your solicitor and find out what the best case scenario is. Your solicitor may come and see you at some point during the day. If you obviously ask for a duty solicitor, they may be around already. If you have a solicitor in mind that you want to use, then they get called down and you can speak to them probably in the afternoon when they're passing through. But the police will let them know when they're ready to interview. The good thing about getting a solicitor in the room is that they'll give them disclosure. Now, disclosure is basically a sneak peek on what the police has got against you. So they'll give a little bit of that information to the solicitor, and they call it disclosure. Then your solicitor comes to you and says, right, well, they've got your fingerprint and they've got a phone call recording, or they've got some CCTV and they've got a witness statement, something like this. Now, this is just a little bit of their hand. They're showing you a little bit of what they've got to maybe try and get you to go guilty as soon as you can. If you still want to fight it, the best thing to do is just to go no comment, or to prepare a statement with your solicitor, and then you give that statement and then go no comment. A lot can happen between the police station and court. So, genuinely you can get caught bang to rights, and then the police can lose all of the evidence. Witnesses can move house. We had the pandemic last year, so there's going to be, huge backlogs in between when a crime was committed and when it actually goes to court. So, in that time, people could have moved house 2 or 3 times, and genuinely, police screw up a lot of cases. All right, so sometimes, unless you're caught bang to rights, even if you are sometimes caught bang to rights, it can always be worth that little roll of the dice of going to trial, or going to just court even and see what happens. So Once you've got through the police interview, your solicitor's going to give you the good or bad news that they're probably not going to give you any bail, and that you're going to get charged for the offence, and you're going to head to prison while they remand you. So you end up in the prison cell for the night. They'll offer you some food. It's normally some kind of microwave meal style food. You've got a couple of choices normally between like a meat pie or some sort of other veggie option or something like that. It's never good. It's worse than hospital food. It's say microwave meals. The next morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, they're going to get you up, and you're going to go off into a van. The police will discharge you. They'll give you all your stuff back in a bag, and they'll put it into the van. It's normally like a Security Corps or a Reliance, that sort of thing. Group 4. G4S, I think they're called now actually. So the van will take you off to a Magistrates Court. Now your Magistrates Court is always the first port of call. Even if you murdered someone, even if they've caught you for 30 murders or kilos and tons of cocaine, you always go to a Magistrates Court first. It's the legal process they have to go through. Even if it's because Magistrates Courts can only deal with things that imprison you for up to 12 months, I think, or possibly a maximum of a 12-month sentence, something like this. So anything other than that or higher than that remit, or a more serious crime, the judge will always just pass it straight up. The magistrate will always just pass it straight up to the Crown Court. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to get taken out from the police station in the little sweat box, the little security van, out to the magistrates' courts. Once you're in the magistrates' courts, they take you into some cells within the magistrates that are very similar to the police cells, really. That you'll then wait there until court's in session, which will be about 10 o'clock. From 10 o'clock onwards, they obviously see the people in the cells and they see the people upstairs as well. So you'll get another chance to see your solicitor. You'll meet them, and they'll kind of basically tell you what's going to go on, whether you've got a chance to to be on bail from the court, or whether it's going to be, remanded in prison until it's dealt with. So again, depending on your sentence, depending on what crime you're going to be, arrested for, could depend on your outcome. Now, a lot of the time, I always tried to go for bail and things, but I'd broken so much trust that they never ever gave it to me. So my solicitor would always be saying, "Well, we'll go for it, but it's unlikely you'll get it." So you'll probably sit in the magistrate's cells for a couple of hours until you're processed, and then you'll be taken upstairs. You'll sit in front of the magistrate's court. It's exactly like it looks on telly. You'll have the space for the public to be sat on one side, and then there's a bunch of empty seats on the other side, and there's all sorts of people sort of sat in the middle that are official and all smartly dressed. Your solicitor and legal people will be sat on the right, and the prosecution normally sit on the left, and everyone's facing forward, so it's everyone's facing towards the judge. The magistrates can be 3 judges. They'll come in, and they will, like I say, they deal with everything from council tax fines to people not paying their bills to shoplifters to petty driving offences, and like I say, any case has to go in front of a magistrate first. So on other days they can be dealing with murderers, mass murderers, and terrorists. So essentially, you just have to, in the first court date, all you're doing is you're giving your details. So they'll ask you your name and address, and then they'll ask if you're giving any indication to your plea. So you don't have to say anything at all, but you can indicate at this early stage that you're going to go guilty or not guilty. All right. If your crime's serious enough, then they'll just say, okay, then we're sending this up to the Crown Court, and you'll get a date in a couple of weeks. If you're unlucky enough to get remanded into custody, then this is the last time you may see your family and friends face to face across the courtroom. You've still got handcuffs on in the court, so the security guard will basically lead you away, back downstairs or behind the scenes, back down to the cells, where you'll wait until everybody's been processed in the court. So you may be the first one up, you may be the one on at 10:05. You'll have to wait till 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon in those tiny little cells until everyone's been processed, because you never know if the last person in the day is going to need to be taken to prison. So everyone's got to wait until everyone's been seen. And until you can be taken. So it could be a long old miserable time down in the court cells, and very little stimulation. They'll give you some kind of doctor's surgery kind of magazines, all taker breaks, and just a load of bollocks really. Old newspapers and old doctor's surgery magazines is all you get down there. So the next thing, you just got to wait out for everyone to be processed. If it's a good day, you might be out there sort of 1 or 2 o'clock. On a bad day, like I say, if there's lots of people being seen, you can be stuck there until 5 or 6 o'clock that evening. They put you back in the little security van, in the little transport vehicle that they call a sweat box, and they'll then transport you up to prison. They take the handcuffs off while you're in the van, but as soon as you get to the prison, you'll need to put the handcuffs back on again before they let you out the van. Now, obviously, that trip from the southwest up to Exeter prison takes a couple of hours. If you're lucky enough to be sort of, from Exeter police station going to Exeter prison, it's only going to take 10 minutes to get to prison. But generally from the southwest, it takes a couple of hours to get up there in the old van. Now, once you get to the prison, they're going to take you off the van one by one, and they're going to put you in a little holding area within the prison. From there, you again go out one by one through the reception, and you start to get processed into the prison. This is the part where you lose all of your identity from the outside. They issue you with your prison number, and you'll basically be known from then on by your surname rather than your first name. So people would call me Bonnie. It's very difficult to imagine when you go into prison, but then once you've been in prison for a little while, and when you come out, it's difficult to imagine people calling you your first name. I remember occasionally people would call me William, and I wouldn't look round straight away, because everyone had been calling me Bonnie for the last 1.5 years or 2 years, and it was just strange to hear my own first name. So from the minute of getting arrested all the way through to ending up in prison, it's not a nice slope to find yourself on, but it can be a slippery slope once you do find yourself on it, that quickly ends you up in a police cell, through to a prison cell, and then through to a lot of time regretting what you did. So that was it. That was my experiences and what it's like from being arrested through to a prison cell. Please like, subscribe, do all the things that YouTube enjoy doing, and I'll continue making these videos. If you want to hear about anything else, or if you want me to do anything else in more detail, put it in the comments, and I'll have a look at doing it in future. Thank you very much. Cheers now. Bye bye.